discussing the sociologies. And as I said, I will start with three founding women sociologists. Founding. Now they are founding. When we say founding, we have to go back to 19th century. To 19th century. As a matter of fact, an English woman sociologist, Harriet Martineau, she was born at the beginning of 19th century in 1802 and died in 1876. So she is really a 19th century person, contemporary to Auguste Comte, one of the male founders, let's say, Auguste Comte, who gave the name to this social science, sociology. There was already psychology, political science, economical science, and then he gave the name sociology to social physics, that is Auguste Comte. Now, Harriet Martineau translated his three-volume book, where he introduces sociology as the sixth science, starting with in these three volumes he talks about mathematics, astronomy, physics, chemistry, biology, and the last one, sociology. These three volumes talks about these six sciences. One of them, the beginning, mathematics, four of them, natural sciences, and the last one, social science. But from Comte's point of view and Harriet Martineau's point of view, it was a positive science, like natural sciences. The second woman founder is from United States of America, Jane Addams. She's born in the middle of 19th century, 1860, and died in 1935, the first 1/3 of 20th century. Jane Addams was a founder as well as an active activist sociologist, fighting for election votes of women. Women should also be have the right to elect MPs, representatives, and should be elected as representatives. And also, she was also fighting for the poor people, unemployed people, and she founded a house where she tried to help them. So it was sociology and social services together. Now, third one is from Germany, Marianne Weber. She's born in 1870 and died in 1954. So she lived up to the middle of 20th century. And her husband is Max Weber, one of the founders, male founders of sociology, about whom we have been talking since your first year, especially in the second year in history of sociology 1, first semester, second year, first semester, you have studied Max Weber, but today I am giving reference to Marianne Weber because Marianne Weber collected the unpublished manuscripts, unpublished books actually, because Weber died from flu, Spanish flu, that started in 1918, like COVID-19 that started in 2019. So it was 1918. This was 2019. So 100 years later, we had COVID, but the initial flu in Turkish grip virus killed Max Weber in 1920, but Marianne Weber survived him, and together with other colleagues, she published unfinished works of Weber. She also wrote a biography of Max Weber, a 500-page biography, and also she was an activist, feminist actually. She fought, she was elected to town council, local administration. So these are three founding sociologists from England, from United States, and from Germany. Now, from Turkey, I also mentioned 4 sociologists. The first one, some of you had development of sociology in Turkey, so you know her, Behice Boran. The second one, 1910 and 1987. Second one, Mübeccel Kıray, 1923 and 2007. Third one, Nermin Abadan Unat, 1921, and she is alive. Now she is 102 years old. 102 years old. And Amiran Kurtkan Bilgiseven, the fourth woman founding sociologist, 1926, 2005. 2005. These 4 sociologists. But I also put down here Çiğdem Kağıtçıbaşı. She's a social psychologist, but she has contributions to sociology as well. But she is younger than all 4, the previous 4. She's born in 1940 and died in 2017. So she's a contemporary woman social psychologist or social scientist, like the woman we are going to talk today. Okay, the first woman we are going to talk today is also almost like the founding woman. She is born in 1926. 1926. So actually, for example, Behice Boran was born in 1910, or Mübeccel Kıray was born in 1923. Dorothy Smith was born in 1926. Close. And actually, although I mentioned Marianne Weber as first feminist sociologist, Dorothy Smith is also one of the founders of women's approach. She called it women's woman's point of view. Woman's point of view. Now, she was educated and she became a faculty member in Canada, although she was educated in England. Now, in Canada, she observed that there were very few women in the academia at that time. She was one of those few. So the majority of academicians were males, especially in natural sciences, in physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, and others. So she started questioning on her field. She was a sociologist in the Faculty of Education. So she started questioning this male dominance in academia. And then she has seen male dominance in the economy as well, in the academia, in the economic field, and then she looked further in political field, in legal field. So in all these fields, there were a dominance of women, and excuse me, a dominance of man, and subordinate position of women, or exclusion. Women were excluded from these fields. They were in the family, in the patriarchal family, and or in the nuclear family, patriarchal large family, or again patriarchal male dominant nuclear family. So she started questioning why women are not active in these fields. So she started observing historically and in contemporary modern societies. At that point, she became, as a sociologist, familiar with a Marxist approach in sociology. Now, she realized that in Marxist approach also, there was not much discussion or much participation of women. Although, for example, during 1920s, there were some women Marxists like Rosa Luxemburg, but the majority of Marxist sociologists were also, she called them gender blind or sex blind. They are, of course, why are they so? Because in society, in economics, in legal field, and historically, there is a dominance of patriarchy, and men are active in all or in life, in the public life. Women are in the private sphere. Now, a Marxist sociologist that we have, all contemporary sociologists from Germany, Habermas carried out that approach to the contemporary era. She touched upon women, but in the life world, in the neighborhoods, in the family, and dominated by two systems of Habermas, economic system and the political system. So Dorothy Smith started criticizing this approach and trying to bring a woman's standpoint, and saying that although Habermas and other Marxist sociologists found out that in economic life, especially in political life, relations of production, mode of production is a determinant factor for women as well. But for women, in addition to that, there was a relations of ruling. So parallel to relations of production of Marxist approach, Dorothy Smith brought relations of ruling. Now, in the relations of ruling as well, there was a dominant official male relations of ruling, dominant official. So in the state, states, the people employed as bureaucrats in the hierarchy of bureaucracy, they were at that time, and this is 50s, 40s, 50s, they were mostly men. Now, don't think that as today, for example, there are a lot of women in bureaucracy, in the state's bureaucracy, as well as in the economic organizations. But at that time, there were few. So she was observing that women in their life world, she adopted from Habermas this life world system distinction. So here, really, Dorothy Smith and Habermas can be compared because they have parallel approaches. Dorothy Smith more from the woman's point of view, whereas Habermas, as you remember, he's developing an approach, a communicative reason. He's bringing against instrumental rationality. He's bringing communicative rationality. So communicative theory of action. Remember his book. Now, Dorothy Smith tried to do a similar thing by looking at woman's point of view, woman's standpoint. So how men are more considered as purposeful, and they are how purposeful and instrumental agents, men, whereas women, not yet at that time anyway. So as a result of all these criticisms, of course, at this time in France, for example, there were other women, that were writing about this, like second sex, among the existentialist circles. There were already paying an attention to this second position of woman, like Beauvoir, Simone de Beauvoir's book, Second Sex. But she did that in the literary field, whereas Dorothy Smith did this in the sociological field. So she intensively studied exposure of women's life worlds to dominant capitalistic relations of production and relations of ruling. And she observed that, yes, there are some women working in the economic field or in the academia like herself, or in the artistic field, but woman has a divided consciousness. Woman in the workplace and woman at home, in the house, at the workplace and at home. She called it in English, the terminology is bifurcation of woman's consciousness. Now, what does that mean? Bifurcation. Now, we have seen bifurcation, çatallanma also in Immanuel Wallerstein. Remember, Immanuel Wallerstein is talking about the crisis in the world capitalist system, and he's talking about a bifurcation, a çatallanma in the democratic equalitarian direction or in the hierarchical authoritarian direction. A bifurcation, which one the world is going to evolve. Now, Dorothy Smith is using bifurcation at the level of consciousness, whereas Wallerstein uses it at the level of world system. Dorothy Smith uses it at the level of woman's consciousness. Now, woman's consciousness, she's saying, is divided into two. She has all these work at home, raising children, cooking, repairing clothes, cleaning, a woman's knowledge. All these require knowledge and skills. And woman at workplace, in the public sphere, has to know, like male colleagues, everything that they know, women also should know. Whereas men, in typical patriarchal family, men devote themselves to work and leave work at home to women. That is under the supposition that women are not working and they are at home. Whereas more and more women are starting to work in the economic, political, and other fields. And when they work, they have this bifurcated consciousness. They have to have a larger consciousness, actually, to accommodate both of these. And for women, this is extra work. Actually, other sociologists that followed Dorothy Smith's woman's standpoint, they said that women are working in two works, at the same time, whereas men only in one job. So women in two jobs. Even there are some sociologists who says they work in three jobs, one in the public workplace, two at home, cooking, cleaning, etc. Three, caring the children, emotional work. Okay, one more concept or one more approach that Dorothy Smith brought is institutional ethnography. Now, what does this mean? Institutional ethnography. Now, she developed her concept, woman's standpoint, woman's approaching the world from the woman's point of view. Now, in institutional ethnography, approaching institutions from people's point of view, women as well as non-dominant man, from the everyday life of women especially, as well of people. She uses the word people. Looking at ethnography, what is ethnography? Anthropology, participant observation. This ethnography is very open for women's point of view, because Dorothy Smith's approach is like an anthropological approach, woman's standpoint. In order to develop woman's standpoint, you have to go down to the life world, everyday life, neighborhoods, villages, and you have to look at from woman's standpoint, where woman is standing, where women are standing. So from where women are standing, when you study institutions of family, economic institutions, legal institutions, educational institutions, all institutions, she calls this approach institutional ethnography. And as a matter of fact, one of her last books, recent books that's published in 2005, is called Institutional Ethnography, and subtitle is A Sociology for People. A Sociology for People. So I think this much might be enough, but if I can, I would like to show you her an interview with her when she was 100 years old. Okay, I said that 100. Now she's 100 years. So according to that estimate, she's born in 1923 rather than 1926. To be 100 years old. Anyway, I would like now to show you. The now let me see this interview. Let me start from here. Let me share my screen. Okay. Why didn't my screen come? There's something. Uygulama ekran paylaş. It is not happening. Unfortunately, I think I am unable to do it. Maybe here. No, it is not there as well. Why is it not opening? I really don't understand this. Sometimes this happens, as you know. So when I am able to do, maybe when it I will try it again when we go further. Maybe at that point I can share my screen and show you this video where she's, a 100 years old sociologist, very active, doing research, participating in all kinds of activities. Okay, this much about Dorothy Smith, the first sociologist. Now, the second one that I am going to talk is a more recent birth. She is born in 1944, Nancy Chodorow. And her first book, Reproduction of Mothering, anneliğin yeniden üretimi, Reproduction of Mothering, published in 1978, was again, like Dorothy Smith, she opened a space for woman's point of view. But Dorothy Smith did that from a Marxist or Habermasian point of view, whereas Nancy Chodorow tried to do it from psychoanalytical point of view. From psychoanalysis, she came to sociology. What she was doing was relating two fields, psychoanalysis and sociology of gender, and how patriarchal families that Dorothy Smith was also talking about gave rise to gendered personality for boys and girls. So she focused on the mother role of women, and as mothers, how they are caring for their babies, male and female babies, and how as a result of this caring, and it is socialization, education, mostly by mothers, but also by fathers, how that gives rise different personalities, different self for male and female children, So what she found out was that as a result of these developments, women were, or girls, and later women, of course, were or had a relational self, a relational female self, versus separated male self, relational and separated, ilişkisel ve ayrık. Male children are separated earlier than girls from their mothers. They are weaned earlier, and the mothers behave towards their male children as the other, whereas they behave towards girls as their extension. It is more relationalism continues there, and she goes into, like Freud in a psychoanalytic way, she goes into how a girl and boys, girls and boys, male and female babies differentiate how their relationships with their mother and with the other members of the family, how gendered selves, gendered personalities emerge. So she goes into three phases, pre-Oedipal phase, Oedipal phase, and post-Oedipal phase, post-Oedipal phase. Now she says that in pre-Oedipal phase, there's a dyadic relationship, mother-baby relationship is a dominant, this two-person relationship, dyadic relationship, and there she says daughters experience powerful bonding, bağlanma to their mothers, whereas, as I said, sons experience otherness, start experiencing otherness, even before the babies are born. As you know, the blue clothing for boys and what is red, pink, pembe, mavi ve pembe giysiler, clothing. So even before, whenever the sex of the child is learned, family starts differentiating for clothing for boys and for girls, and then toys are for girls, toys, babies for girls, guns for etc. Of course, not in the pro-Oedipal phase, but in the Oedipal and post-Oedipal phase, this becomes much more pronounced, pronounced in the Oedipal period. So male love is dyadic, again, two-person, whereas female love for the mother or for the parents is diffuse, whereas for male it is dyadic. So now this results in, as I said, boys' personality and girls' personality differentiated because boys are exposed or expected to have a more severe repression. They have to repress severely their love for their parents, for their mother. Boys for their mother. They have to repress severely. And this severe act of repression makes them separate. This is a forceful and rigid detachment from the mother and identification with the father. For girls, this separation is milder and less severe, and there is continuous connection. So in the in this reproduction of mothering in 1970, and later she had this book, Feminism and Psychoanalytic Theory. Especially in the second book, she moved more she abandoned individualistic approach, in psychoanalysis, in psychology. So she moved more in the sociological direction and more in intersubjective. She focused more and more on intersubjective relationships between babies and their parents, between children and their parents. So sociological, cultural aspects came into the picture more and more as she continued contributing. And this is, as you will remember, this is a more phenomenological, sociological approach, phenomenological, intersubjective. You will, we should, when we in the second semester, phenomenological sociologists and symbolic interactionists, we studied those sociologists, and she is, Chodorow is more in phenomenological sociology direction. So she's not fighting, as she becomes more sociological, she's fighting against universalizing tendencies of psychology and psychoanalysis. Because Freud, for example, is developing concepts of psychoanalysis from his patients in Vienna. The context is very Western, very urban, modern, capitalistic. So the concepts that emerge from here cannot be generalized to the other cultures, other societies. As a matter of fact, whereas in psychoanalysis, in patriarchal family, father is dominant authority. In Trobriand, the anthropologist Malinowski found out during 30s and 40s, found out that in Trobriand Islands, uncle or dayı, mother's brother is the authority, because children live together with the mother and mother's brother, mother, and in this matrilineal family type, father is someone in the other family, coming and visiting his daughters and sons, and of course his wife, but the dominant authority is not father, but dayı. In English, unfortunately, we have the same word, uncle, for dayı and for amca. Okay, now the next book, her next book, is called, further, she's developing now. It is published in 1994. It's called Femininities, Masculinities, and Sexualities, and called Freud and Beyond. Now, this is 1994 book, so she is trying to integrate not only sociology and anthropology, but also post-structuralist post-positivist and postmodern approaches in social sciences. She continues fighting against universalizing gender theories of psychoanalysis. And her more recent book is called The Power of Feelings. The Power of Feelings. This is translated into Turkish as well. How, as a result of all these developments, how self as both psychic and psychically and culturally gendered. Self is both psychically and culturally gendered, and here it's not only cognitive but also normative, emotional dimensions come into the fore. So both rational and emotional human beings or gendered selves are both emotional and rational, rather than, you know, a male self rational, female self emotional. No, gendered selves are both rational, cognitive, and emotional, affective, cognitive and affective. So she says, instead of using either or type of approach, either or, ya o ya bu, no, ya both, her ikisi de, both and. So she calls her approach as a both and approach rather than an either or approach. So both individual level and societal level, both internal dimensions and external dimensions, both rational dimensions, emotional dimensions, both. Okay, this is her contributions. I was intending to show you also a video from her, but unfortunately, as I tried before, now I am trying it again, but I am unfortunately unable to do it. So I will go, but I included them in the Blackboard. So when you are alone, you can listen to those videos. I hope you are listening them. I expect you to do that, actually, really. So I have completed discussion about two women sociologists, Dorothy Smith and Chodorow, Nancy Chodorow. Now I will go into a third one, and third one will be Judith Butler. Now Judith Butler is youngest of these four. She is born in 1956. She's born in 1956, and really she has written so many books. I was going to show you also a video from her where she criticizes Israel. She's a Jewish feminist sociologist, feminist social scientist, like few other American social scientists and intellectuals. She signed a petition, stop war, stop bombing Gaza. So she is really not only activist in terms of feminism, or activist in also criticizing feminism, because she is she is going beyond feminism, because feminism, she says in this book, Gender Trouble, this is also translated into Turkish, cinsiyet belası, Gender Trouble, cinsiyet belası. In this book, she says that society, has this divided approach to men and women. This heterosexuality is dominant approach, she says, but feminists also reproduce this approach when they focus on women against men. So they accept heterosexual biological givenness of male and female, man and woman, but she says that to have a better sociology of gender, it is necessary to criticize this dichotomous approach, open up, instead of a dichotomy, a more multi-perspective. Okay, now especially, and here the emphasis of course is, instead of emphasizing biological factity of sex, biologically there are two bodies, female body and male body, but she says that gender is socioculturally constructed through performative acts. Okay, performative acts and significations. Performative act, this is one of her concepts, performativeness. Performative is actually repeating, when last week when I was talking about Althusser, remember, Althusser is also saying that ideology is material, how subjects are özne, subjects are constructed by material acts of going to church, praying, kissing the hands of the elders, subordinating you. When you repeatedly perform the acts, you become that performed self. So you acquire yourself by repeated performations, performative acts. She calls them performative acts or performance. Okay, in micro sociology also this that is the how performance are important. Repeated performances are important. So instead of using the concept of performance, she is using performative acts through which gender is signified. Many many positions. So she instead of male female, she puts a continuum, and in continuum there are bisexuals, heterosexuals, homosexuals. So she talks about pluralistic selves that emerge in the society, and as social scientists, we have to analyze them. Although politically and socially, the dyadic, dichotomic, instead of a continuum, a two value, man and woman, is emphasized. So I thought that Gender Trouble was his first book. Bodies That Matter. It is translated into Turkish as Bela Bedenler, and especially Psychic Life of Power. Theories in Subjection. Now, subjection here, subjectness. Now, this is from Althusser again. Remember, in Althusser, how subjectness is constructed by interpellation, calling, hey you, here. Now, Judith Butler says that Judith Butler actually goes into the micro process at the psychic level, how Althusser's police old soldier, calls hey you, but here how mother or father or brothers calls you, there inevitably babies are in a subordinate position. They cannot survive without that mother-child relationship. Mother with a caregiver, powerful mother, all powerful, but also the baby is of helplessness. So baby is subjected to the power and authority of the parents, Now, so she not only takes the approach of Althusser, together with Althusser, Foucault, Foucault, as you remember, when we were discussing Foucault, Foucault worked together with Althusser and others, and Foucault also introduces this concept of power into the construction of subjectness, subjectification. How and remember, Foucault goes into different types of power: absolute power, disciplinary power, or panoptical power, and biopolitical power, and how in relationship to each of them discourses, and power relations and practices and non-discursive life, how these are related in constructing our relationship to things and to other people, domination or subordination, to knowledge of remember just Foucault, the mad people, knowledge of madness, his book History of. So she brings together Althusser, Foucault, and earlier Freud and Nietzsche. Even Hegel. Even she uses Hegel's approach, master and slave dialectic. How Hegel goes in that chapter of his book, Phenomenology of Spirit, Phenomenology of Geist, how earlier in this relationship, eventually the slave becomes a free person, a grown-up person, and how her relationship to the master, what kind of relationship is that? Now, is he becoming a master and his body slave, or what? And Nietzsche's approach to the development of conscience, vicdan. So Judith Butler focuses on how the baby, as he is becoming a self, how he returns to herself, to himself, a reflexive relationship. She reflexively looks back into that place where herself, his self, or her subjectness will emerge, but it is not there yet. But repeatedly, through performative acts, eventually through this reflexive act, but in the field of norms, authority of the parents, of power, and how in the process of internalization of norms, of language, of authority, he constructs a self, a subject, as subjects. One meaning is subjects and the king and the subjects, teba. But the second meaning is subject, özne. So from teba subject, subordinate subjectness, going into as a self subjectness of self, having some autonomy or not having, so subjection or non subordination, subjection as subordination, or subjection as domination, subordination or domination. So power relationships is dominant in Butler's synthesis of Hegel, Nietzsche, Freud, Althusser, and Foucault's approaches, and Simone de Beauvoir, of course. Simone de Beauvoir. I don't think whether I have to check whether she uses Dorothy Smith, but she uses other female, for example, she uses Nancy Fraser. She's in debate with Nancy Fraser and Sheila bin Habib, two women philosophers actually, and also she's in a relationship with Elizabeth Gensheim or Beck Gensheim, Spivak Gayatri. These are women social science that she's interacting. But in this book, in The Psychic Life of Power, and subtitle Theories in Subjection, she synthesizes mostly Hegel, Nietzsche, Freud, Althusser, and Foucault. Okay, now I have completed presentation of the third woman sociologist. Now I will go to the fourth one, Juliet Mitchell. Juliet Mitchell. Now, for all these, I have given in the blackboard material for you to read. At least one book from each of them. And chapters in books or articles on them. For example, there is a chapter on Dorothy Smith in Leder's Understanding Social Theory, which you are familiar. Or for Nancy Chodorow, there is a chapter in Turner and Eliot. For Judith Butler, actually, you have to read her own or material on her, but I included here again in the blackboard some of her books where you can enter into them and examine them. And for Juliet Mitchell, there is again a chapter in the profiles, in Turner and Eliot profiles. Okay, now Juliet Mitchell, Mitchell's first work is in 1966, and it is titled as Woman, The Longest Revolution. Kadınlar en uzun devrim. So, for the liberation of women, again, she moves like Nancy Chodorow, from psychiatry, from psychology, from psychoanalysis. She joined during 60s to anti-psychiatry movement, criticism of psychiatry, psychiatrists' approach as physiological, biological model, the reductionistic model, reductionism to physiology, to biology, and she focuses on the family and societal level, and again, like Nancy Chodorow, she criticizes psychoanalysis assessment of patriarchal family, and again, like Judith Butler and like Dorothy Smith, she developed Simone de Beauvoir's thesis in the direction of as socialist feminism. She calls herself a socialist feminist, Juliet Mitchell, and she also uses Althusser's concept of relative autonomy over determination, which we discussed thanks to Nilüfer. I included Althusser because really these women sociologists, for example, use Althusser's approach, and Juliet Mitchell also uses it. Now, her second book is Woman's Estate. And here she focuses on the patriarchal family and how women, like in the Dorothy Smith's approach as well, if women are not working, how they are excluded from rest of life into family life, into the patriarchal, the she calls it monotonous life of the patriarchal family. And she also criticizes Marxist analysis because Marxist analysis accepts a woman's exile to family. Male Marxists especially, do not problematize women's being in family. For them, man's position as a worker or as a bourgeois, as you remember, is important. But in the family, the worker man and housewife woman, there is also a domination subordination relationship there, and it has to be recognized and it has to be analyzed. So like Nancy Chodorow, she goes into dyadic two person, baby and the mother, baby and the father, dyadic primary relationship between mother and child. So now, she gives here reference to post-Freudian Lacan. We will see Lacan in few weeks. Now, Lacan talks about love of the father, how the symbolic world is father's authority, like in Althusser as well. In the patriarchal family, father imposes a culture that subordinates woman as nature. So culture as man and nature as woman, in the same way that human history is approached as human beings' control of nature. So patriarchal family is control of woman. So she also goes into the Oedipus complex, the patriarchal order, and how in anthropological studies women are exchanged exchanged, between two tribes if they are endogamous. So their endogamous tribal structure is constructed through exchange of women between two tribes. So she says that women will be free if they will be in a non-patriarchal society where they will not be exchanged. Her next book is called Siblings. Kardeşler. Siblings. Now, siblings, she says that all previous approaches focus upon parent-child relationship, mother, baby, father, baby, child, male, female, etc. But she says sibling relationships between sisters among each other, or brothers among each other, brothers and sisters. She focuses on how a toddler, a 3-4-year-old baby, child, not baby anymore, child, is exposed to the birth of a new sibling, a brother or a sister. Okay. Now, she was actually in her mother's womb, in her mother's uterus, and then in her mother's embrace, and breast, sucking. Now, she or he and the mother, she was unique, precious, the only person. But suddenly, her place is taken by somebody else. But a previous he or she is now replaced by somebody else. And where is he himself or she himself? Now, the 3-year-old, 4-year-old child suddenly finds himself, according to Juliet Mitchell, in a loss, in an absence, a loss, and so he starts questioning who I am now. If I am not that anymore, and someone else, my brother, sister, they are standing, so where I am. So she says that actually thinking, in the Freudian approach, thinking is very much related to, from where babies come. But she says, in addition to that, thinking is further elaborated and strengthened by this questions of who am I, if I am not that precious single baby of my mother, my mother's child. Now my mother has another child, but I was my mother's child, my mother's baby. Now who am I now? She says that this is a trauma, and if the child emerges from this trauma successfully, and most of children emerge from it successfully. And actually, this relationship, this sibling relationship, helps us to understand future relationships with classmates, with friends, with co-workers, etc., etc., etc. She says that studying siblings, and the subtitle is Siblings, Sexuality and Violence. Now, there's a competition now with the new baby, and usually older children are they feel that they are being destroyed by this new being. Now, so there are two beings now. One is now they are destroying each other, or the previous one is being destroyed. But as the second child grows, he also starts seeing that the first brother or sister, also now she thinks that Juliet Mitchell thinks that there is a traumatic relationship here, and she has a most recent book actually, Fratriarchy, the Sibling Trauma and the Love of the Mother. Now this book is published in 2023, this year, at the beginning of 2023. Now in this book, she further develops her approach that she developed in previous books, and especially in her book titled Siblings. Now here confronts Lacan's theory of the love of the father, where Lacan interprets Freudian psychoanalysis, or brings Freudian psychoanalysis into contemporary world in France, during 50s, 60s, and 70s, and he conceptualizes patriarchal dominance, or dominance of symbolic over the imaginary, and over the real. This is, as we will see, Lacan's trilogy for children, for human beings. They confront, they exist in these three worlds: in the real world, in the imaginary world, and in the symbolic world. Now, the dominant one is the symbolic world: language, norms, laws, culture, symbolic, law of the father. Now, Mİtchell says that law of the father is a horizontal relation, hierarchical. No, it is a hierarchical vertical relationship. Whereas sibling relationship is horizontal. Law of father is vertical, sibling relationship is horizontal, and mother is intervening. Whereas in the vertical relationship, it was father's law of the father. Now in the horizontal relationship, it is law of the mother. This is a new concept, against Lacan's, or to complement the vertical hierarchical law, law of the father, dominant subordination. Now, between siblings, between brothers, sisters and brothers, how there's a horizontal relationship, and the relationship between them can be understood through law of the mother. Now, how mother prevents violence between the children, violence. How mother prevents competition between two sisters, for example, competition of two sisters, who will be the favorite daughter of the mother, or especially of the father, who will be the favorite daughter of the father, two sisters competing with each other, or struggling with each other, from first, from birth onwards, being and non-being, being and non-being. So mother, through her emotional relationship of love, she moderates the relationship between siblings without imposing a patriarchal, hierarchical subordination, domination. So instead of subordination, domination, it is sisterhood, or brotherhood. So the French Revolution slogan, brotherhood, equality, freedom. Here, sisterhood. Especially, she emphasizes, especially how women in a sibling relationship, in a relationship of siblings, can create a more free and egalitarian world. In this book, fratriarchy, instead of patriarchy and Lacan, fratriarchy and mother's law of Juliet Mitchell. Okay, now I will stop here and ask you a question. What are your relationships between you and your siblings, your sisters and your brothers? How did your father and your mother, the law of the father and law of the mother, if you think about this, can you say anything? Can you say anything about it? If you are listening to me when I was, this exists in all four contemporary women sociologists, and I hope that you will open your microphone and you will say a few things about this sisterhood issue. Evet.